first race for the Scottish Classic Sports Saloons is lined up behind me in the holding bay, ready for their first race of the day under glorious blue skies. We have a new man on pole position. Second on the grid is Andy Smith, the man we've seen dominant this year, but he is level on points as we go into the final two races with the man who lines up fifth on the grid, Robert Marshall, in the yellow and white Escort. This is going to be a cracker. I'm going to hand it to Richard and he'll take you through the full starting order.
Cheers, Joe. Pole position today by 0.275 seconds is Shawnee Patterson, with Andy Smith second. John Marshall back with us. He's in the Mark 1 Ford Escort with Stan Bernard alongside. Then Robert Marshall and Harry Simpson. Ray Boyd and Willie Robertson, row 4. Jimmy Crowe and Ian Sinclair, who's the Class A pole, a 10th on the grid. Then Robin Ben, Nick Boyce next to him. The grid completed by Steve Uphill, Ian Blacklin, both in Fiestas. Alistair Coates in the Jensen Healey. Christy Doran in the Triumph TR8 and Cameron Gilmore in the venerable Austin A30. So 5 classes represented here once again. And on the front row, Shawnee Patterson. Is he going to be able to take the battle to Andrew Smith? Andrew in the Morgan has been virtually under. Cameron Gilmore's in the pit lane, yellow car in the pit lane, but Shawnee Patterson gets away well. John Marshall in car number 3, the Mark 1 Escort, the former champion. Look at the blue Ginetta G4 of Harry Simpson, Class B pole sitter, running well. Robert Marshall gets ahead of him. Willie Robertson running in Class D. On a good mix of cars in all classes, 17 cars qualifying. I'm not sure whether Cameron Gilmore's going to get out on track. The news is that yes, he is. So through the chicane for the first time, there is Harry Simpson. You just see him racing in Davrian. And the Ginetta, a very welcome addition to the grid, but it's Andrew Smith leading. Well, I was going to say Russell Patterson leading, but of course it's Russell Patterson prepared car. Shawnee Patterson in the TR8. A little way back at the moment in 4th place. Stan Bernard second, with John Marshall on the outside in the Mark 1 Escort. John at the moment is significantly taking points away from his brother Robert Marshall in the Mark 2. Robert and Andrew Smith tied on points coming into this meeting, 434 points. So the overall championship will, if they maintain the form that they've had over previous rounds, will be shared between the two. And it's been, I can't recall that happening before, and I can't think of any way that we could do a tie break, so I'll defer to the officials on it. But at the moment they'll be shared on points, and of course that's probably the way we would tend to remember it in classics, with the wins coming competitively in the different classes. And down the inside and into the lead, John Marshall. John Marshall's challenging for the lead. Andrew Smith hanging on to it at the moment, but John's going to have the line as they go down in towards the hairpin. Shawnee Patterson, which way is he going to go? Shawnee's siding with the Morgan at the moment, the outside line, but John Marshall's going to be hard on the brakes. He's been away classic rallying, John. But the Escort gets the better line, a little bit of tail out on the hairpin. Love to see that. And they climb up the hill, and of course the power of the Morgan really starts to kick in. Robert Marshall needs the points to be in with a shout of an overall championship win. Now looking at Class C today, well, John Marshall didn't need to be here because we've got 4 entries and we only need 3 for maximum points. So I'm suspecting probably not team orders from the Marshall camp, but Robert Marshall, who's done some terrific driving on his own merits, doesn't necessarily need his brother out to help him win the championship because he's driven well, as too has Andrew Smith, who leads this one at the moment. Stan Bernard still there in 3rd place and leading his class, Class D. Stan, of course, another former champion. Cameron Gilmore, there's proof he did make it out on track. So the Austin A30 about to find himself a lap down. The 1318cc car in the smallest class. You'll see a brace of Ford Fiestas out there racing today as well. Steve Uphill in the smaller of the Fiestas, 1380cc, and a 1600cc car of Ian Blacklin. And they're running in separate classes. Robbie Ben and Nick Boyes engaged in the Capri and Mini respectively. So there is Robin, qualified in 11th place, up into 9th position at the moment with John Marshall in the pit lane. So disappointment for him. Willie Robertson has been a retiree at the moment in the Datsun 240Z. Jimmy Crowe ahead of them, running in 7th. And up ahead of them it's Robert Marshall, Harry Simpson and company fighting it out for overall honours. Now Class B Championship led by Kieran Bailey by some significant way from Tim Reed, so Kieran Bailey not here, neither is Tim, so he's confirmed as champion as Robert Marshall closes in on Stan Bernard. Stan's missed I think 3 rounds this year, but still incredibly in 7th in the championship and 2nd in Class D. Ray Boyd in the blue Porsche 911 is the championship leader for Class D, and Ray coming into this round 333 points. Stan Bernard 12th overall, 183. Cameron Gilmore continues on his way. Nobody for him to dice with at the moment, but he'll be enjoying the track time, and you can see the blue flags being waved to the slower drivers. So the little Fiesta about to be gobbled up by the 3 drivers at the moment, scopping over 3rd place. Stan Bernard there in car number 1, the reigning champion, 55 Robert Marshall behind him. Shonny Patterson getting away, we'd expect that. The bigger cars, Class E cars 1st and 2nd. Robert Marshall, little lock up on the brakes there. Robert of course running in Class C, that's the Class 1800 up to 2.3 litres. Class D 2.3 to 3.6, and Class E 3.6 and above, and of course the TR8 and the Morgan Plus 8 running 3.9 litre engines. It doesn't matter if you've got a smaller car like Nick Boy's Mini, there is a class for you to race, and you're in with a shout at the overall championship, as indeed Nick was earlier in the season. So Ray Boyd up the inside of Robert Marshall goes through. Robert, the tail happy Escort. We'd love to see the tail out on the Mark 1 and Mark 2 Escorts. We're just left with 1 Mark 2 and a Mark 1 now in the race, with the demise of John Marshall. I think he might be back on track and doing a few extra laps, but we haven't seen him. Here is Ray Boyd, 49, told me that he's possibly moving on to pastures new for next season, as Robert Marshall locks up again in the Marshall Construction 55 car. He's seeing his daughter Elaine wrap up the Ladies' Cup in the Scottish Mini Cooper Cup this weekend, so maybe double family celebrations for them at the end of the meeting today. Into car loop, Stan Bernard still there from Ray Boyd. Christy Doran is in the TR8, you just saw go out of shot. The teenage racer who's had a super year learning about racing, and I'll tell you what, a lot of youngsters, we'll come back to that. Alistair Coates going wide, 32 in the Jensen Healey. Fiesta coming up as well. Is that a black flag going up for somebody? Difficult to see in the light. I would have thought it was blue. It might just be the light there, but blue flags for the drivers that are being lapped in the slower classes. And Stan Bernard continues to come under pressure from Ray Boyd, car number 49. So Andrew Smith still out front, and Ray having a look down the inside, and you saw how he had to fight the car there to hang on to it, but he's really putting the pressure on. It's Andrew Smith still out front. Shonny Patterson is 2nd in the TR8, so the Class E, the big machine's getting away with it. Class A incidentally up to 1500cc, Class B 1501 to 1800, and then the 1800 to 2.3 in Class C, and I think I've covered all of them. The Data Post Fiesta you can see there, which is running well. Steve Uphill, engine built by Richard Longman, who of course raced in that livery back in the 1980s, and it's wonderful to see that car out there. I think you can get a little die-cast replica of that car as well across the line. If we had a look in the pits there, we saw Willie Toyan. Problems for the Triumph Sport, goes off, and Nick Boys will take the lead in Class A. Off goes Ian Sinclair. Hopefully he'll be able to rejoin. He fires up the number 40 car, and we'll try and get back onto the tarmac as Ray Boyd continues to put Stan Bernard under pressure. This is the scrap for 3rd place. Boyd's already sewn up the Class D title and 4th position in the championship. He's away shy of Nick Boys on points in the Mini. There's Christy Doran. I mentioned the young teenage racer who's had such a super year this year. And the point I was trying to make earlier on as Boyd looks to the outside line, the point I was making about young drivers is that classic racing, a very good way for young drivers to come in. There have been a few drivers in single-seaters that have raced classic Formula 4 down in England, And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it at all as the cars go on to the last lap of the penultimate race of the year. Robert Marshall having a relatively quiet race, but it's Andrew Smith in the RPM prepared car who's going to take another win. And it looks likely now that Andrew Smith's going to win the BMRC trophy as well. The one I was talking about at the start of the race. He's going to be the Scottish Motor Racing Club champion of champions. Cameron Gilmore is ahead of him as he comes down into the hairpin for the last time. He's a couple of seconds clear of Shawnee Patterson, who's had a good race starting from pole position. But here is Andrew Smith, who's going to go up across the line and takes the flag. It's another win. He's unbeaten this year. There is Shawnee Patterson second. Nick Boys has got the better of Robin Ben, albeit a lap down. Nick Boys finishing in 8th and winning Class A. Robin Ben takes 3rd in Class D. And now up to the line they come side by side. Raymond Boyd just takes 3rd place from Stan Bernard. Harry Simpson 5th and Robert Marshall in 6th. There is Ian Sinclair, who takes 10th place and 2nd in Class A. Steve Uphill will be 3rd in Class A in the 1380 Ford Fiesta. But it's fastest lap for Andrew Smith and win. Shawnee Patterson 2nd, Ray Boyd 3rd from Stan Bernard, and Harry Simpson. Robert Marshall is next in 6th place. 7th goes to Jimmy Crow from Nick Boys, the Class A winner. Then Robin Ben. Ian Sinclair gets a track record for Class A in 10th from Steve Uphill. Christy Doran in 12th. Ray Boyd incidentally got a lap record for his class. Alistair Coates 13th. Ian Blacklin 14th and Cameron Gilmore completing the runners in 15th position.
Welcome to another episode of Racing No Filter. Joining me in sunny California, Bill Wood, and down in sunny Florida, Peter Keene.
We're going to take a look at some of the products HPD has created for the 2012 Honda Civic, and specifically we're going to show you how to install an adjustable sway bar.
Until then, folks out there, you take care.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new Go Racing TV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Round 18 of the championship, the final race of the 2012 season. Andrew Smith on pole position in the Morgan. Shawnee Patterson alongside with Ray Boyd and Stan Bernard. Great finish from them in race 1. Harry Simpson and Robert Marshall completing row 3. Behind them, it's Jimmy Crow and Nick Boys, then Robin Ben and Ian Sinclair, the new lap record holder for Class A. Steve Uphill and Christy Doran, 11th and 12th. Next up, Alistair Coates and Ian Blacklin, Cameron Gilmore and John Marshall with Willie Robertson starting at the rear. The two non-finishers from race 1, Marshall J and Willie Robertson. Cameron Gilmore, you can see there in the A30, nestled at the back of the field, ready for lights out for the 18th race of the Scottish Classic Saloon and Sports Championship in association with Water Revolution, Yokohama Tyres and TMS Motor Spares. Good start from Jimmy Crow, gets ahead, or gets his nose in front of Nick Boys, who's going to get squeezed between a pair of Fords. And Nick in 45, I think he's still got the Class A lead, he has there, just ahead of Ian Sinclair. Now Stan Bernard has got ahead of Ray Boyd here. Andrew Smith will be away and down the road with one hand on the BMRC trophy. As we said, won by Jim Clark back in 57. It's a real prestigious piece of silverware, and there's an awful lot of that type of thing going on in the Scottish Motor Racing Club. And if you're associated with the club in any way, I highly recommend the end of season presentation night. It's a fair old do. Sheraton in Edinburgh, as Andrew Smith is passed. Shawnee Patterson comes through on the inside. So Smith's been passed. Now, is this going to jeopardise the BMRC trophy and possibly the overall championship? Because Robert Marshall is front of Class C and he's had a perfect season so far, and I don't think there's anyone to challenge him. Jimmy Crow is not that far behind. There's Nick Boyd, Robin Ben, Up into the race lead of Class A has gone Ian Sinclair. The Triumph Sports not only wants the lap record, he wants to take a win as well. Race leader Andy Smith from Renfrew, the Morgan Plus 8, crosses the line and certainly being made to work very hard by Shawnee Patterson. Be good to see Shawnee do a full season, maybe challenge for the overall championship honours. There is Shawnee. Ian Patterson, as he is known formerly, from Arachar, and has been very spectacular when we've seen him. Powered by Iron Brew, as you can see from the back of the car. Up into Carlu corner. He's an ex-rally man and knows how to power that machine around here, but Andrew Smith in the Morgan, got to say the Morgan probably more suited to circuit racing than the TR8, but Shawnee's really made it go and took the battle to him in the early stages of the race. Quick look back down the order, still Ian Sinclair in front of Class A. Class B at the moment is led by Ian Blacklin. Harry Simpson not taking the start. We've got 3 non-starters in this second race. John Marshall, one of them, after problems in race number 1. He did get the fastest lap, so the problems couldn't have been too bad. Willie Robertson non-starting, along with the Ginetta. So a slightly depleted set of cars. It's been a very full season for them, and if you look down the entry list, we've had 46 drivers racing in the championship, including a couple of guest drivers at the touring car rounds, over 16 races. So it really has been a very, very well supported championship, and the drivers kind of take their turns to come out when they're ready. But we've had some regulars, including these guys at the front. Stan Bernard, as we said, has missed 3 rounds this year, but when he has come out, he's been far from race rusty, and he's proving to be quick again today. 3rd position in the race and a class win in the offing. Robin Ben, now was he off there? Nick Boys and Robin engaged in battle again. This is always wonderful to see. There's the Triumph Sport leading A, and Nick Boys of course wants to have a nibble at the Triumph Sports car, and he gets ahead of Robin Ben. Boys in the 1330cc Mini. Robin Ben 3 litres, he's giving away a fair few cc's. Now down behind them, Ian Blacklin in the Class B Fiesta, busy dicing with Alistair Coates in the 2-litre Jensen Healey, great looking car. And down behind them, Steve Uphill still running in the Data Post Ford Fiesta. We were hoping to see that at the touring car round earlier on in the year, but some problems ensued, certainly at the one at Croft. We were hoping to actually film a little piece for ITV around it, but sadly engine problems put paid to that. Nick Boys chucking the Mini around. What a great character, the biggest and best beard in British motor racing. Pretty sure I've said that before, but look at the way it goes. That car really does work well. So Nick Boys second in Class A. He's going to be disappointed to be second place at the moment, down behind the race leader Ian Sinclair. Ian running in 7th at the moment, just ahead of him. So Nick Boys 8th, Robin Ben 9th. There's the scrap for 10th place at the moment between Ian Blacklin and Alistair Coates. Steve Uphill goes through. There's Christy Doran in the TR8, the young lady racer who we hope will come back and race something, if not the same car, something else next year with us. Now Stan Bernard this time getting away from Ray Boyd. Now I said that Stan hasn't been race rusty. Maybe he was a tad in race number 1, and that's perhaps why he let Ray get close to him. But this one, he seems to be warming up nicely. He's got a little bit of a gap between himself and Ray Boyd. Then it's Robert Marshall in the Class C Ford Escort RS, and Cameron Gilmore, who's 15th at the moment, is about to be lapped by Stan Bernard. And Cameron moves to the outside of the track. Very good gentlemanly behaviour from him. And up front, Andrew Smith has at the moment seen off Shawnee Patterson. He's got the gap out to 2 seconds over the TR8. So Andrew Smith is on his way to win the title, along with Robert Marshall in Class C. Marshall's got Jimmy Crow behind him, but there's a fair old gap between Robert Marshall and Jimmy Crow. This is the view from the cockpit. This is the business end of things. A day at the office for Andrew Smith. Visor down, head down, concentrating all the way. Changes up and past the commentary tower in the background here at Knockhill, down in towards Real Radio Hairpin. Just caught a glimpse of Willie Robertson's Datsun. Was it parked up? No, he didn't start the race, so out of the hairpin and up the hill again to cross the line, tick off another lap and edging towards a joint championship win here. Can't see any way of splitting Andrew Smith and Robert Marshall. So it's going to be Morgan and Escort joint champions if things stay the way they are. Down Duffers Dip. You can see the sun getting lower in the skies. Second race of the day for these guys in a packed programme here at Knockhill. Christy Doran gets passed by Andrew Smith. Good driving etiquette from Christy again. Keeps out of the way, and looks like Shonny Patterson some way behind. Stan Bernard still in third. And Andrew Smith, who's been absolutely inch perfect all season in the Morgan. It really is a beautiful car, as indeed they all are in this championship. It's just such a terrific variety. Shonny Patterson manages to lap Christy Doran as well, so TR8 passes TR8. Expert passing apprentice, you might say, as they come up the hill. Blue flags being waved for the slower cars. Ian Blacklin and Steve Uphill in the Class A and B Fiestas about to be eaten up. Stan Bernard, is he being closed on by Ray Boyd? Looks like Ray might be a tad closer in this one. Gap back as we look to see Cameron. Oh, Cameron gets a moment off. Cameron Gilmore off on the dirt. Well, it just goes to show he's certainly trying and enjoying himself in the A30. He wouldn't have enjoyed it if it had tipped over or gone into the gravel, but certainly a little bit of a moment. But that just shows the commitment from the Class A driver. They're all working real hard. So Steve Uphill is the next car to be lapped by the race leader. There's Ian Blacklin going through. But the two Fiestas, and remember they're running in separate classes. Uphill in the Class A car, Ian Blacklin in the B. So Steve Uphill having a pretty good run here in the smaller engine car, 1380 to the 1600cc of Ian Blacklin. Both of them putting in a good race. There's the blue flag again. This time it goes out for Alistair Coates. The last lap board goes out. Andrew Smith is going to be joint champion with Robert Marshall. Let's see if we stay with the wall cam for Robert Marshall. There he is. Marshall goes across the line as well onto his last lap. And potential joint champions. But it's Andrew Smith that's going to win the Champion of Champions with the best placings overall in the SMRC events. That prestigious trophy. The Morgan driver, he's got the fastest lap of the race again, a 58.114, averaging just shy of 80 miles an hour around here. Shonny Patterson, the second quickest driver on the day, he's second place, 58.86, 78 miles an hour. But on the last run down into the hairpin for the 2012 season, it's going to be Andrew Smith who will win the race outright. We haven't seen Robert Marshall be able to take the outright race wins. We wouldn't have expected that with the Escort. Nick Boyce gets the last lap signal, as does Robin Ben. But Andrew Smith wins the race and jointly wins the championship. Shonny Patterson second in the race. Stan Bernard this time gets third. Then Ray Boyd. And there's the joint champion, Robert Marshall. Many congratulations to Robert Marshall and Andrew Smith, who will share the title for next year. Not sure who's going to get number one. But Smith and Patterson first and second in the race. The Class E boys from Stan Bernard. Ray Boyd in fourth for Robert Marshall, class winner and champion overall. Jointly then Jimmy Crowe, sixth place in the Mark 1 Escort. Seventh goes to Ian Sinclair, who wins Class A ahead of Nick Boyce. Then Robin Ben and Alistair Coates. Ian Blacklin 11th from Cameron Gilmore in 12th, completing the finishers.
Well, there we go, folks. That's all we have time for from Knockhill Racing Circuit. Please join us next time for a lot more exciting action.